Hey everybody, it's your old pal John, otherwise known as a History Buff. You can call me John, History Buff channel, whatever you'd like. We're going to check out 10 TV shows every Brit knows. So let me know if you've never heard of any of these if you're a Brit. This is Anglophenia, and let's get going.
Britain is well known for creating great television, and much of it is exported worldwide, from Monty Python to Doctor Who to all of those majestic nature documentaries by David Attenborough. But there are plenty of shows that are on all the time in the UK that never make it across the pond, and I think that you should know about them.
I'm all for that.
Hi, I'm Siobhan Thompson, and this is Anglophenia, and here are just 10 of the many programmes that Brits regularly reference in daily conversation. You know, the equivalent of Saturday Night Live, Jeopardy, or I guess the Brady Bunch? Yes, that is a programme with an extra M and an E on the end. Thank you very much. Blue Peter. The mission statement of the BBC is educate, inform, entertain, and this children's programme does just...
I learned that from Philomena Kunk.
Just that. It's a magazine-style show that covers every topic that a kid could be interested in, from kayaking to chemistry. It's been running since 1958, and it's most famous for its garden, the Blue Peter badges that you could win by writing in, and for making really, really cool things out of yogurt pots and toilet rolls.
Oh, that's cool.
It's basically if you took the world's coolest scout troop and put them on television. And what exactly is a Blue Peter anyway?
Yeah.
Well, it's a maritime signal indicating that a vessel is about to begin a journey. I looked that up. Fun fact.
I thought a Blue Peter, they were going a different direction. Okay.
Dad's Army. This was a sitcom made in the 60s and 70s about the Home Guard in a small town during World War II. These lovable old codgers were the last line of defense against the Nazis. It definitely plays into an ideal of the great British stiff upper lip. But it's still on all the time because it's really, really funny. If you ever need a lesson in the subtleties of social class interaction in the UK, you should watch this show, because somehow we managed to even make beating the Nazis about where you went to school. Notable quotes include, "You stupid boy," and "They don't like it up 'em." And for all of you asking at home, this is what the theme tune sounds like. Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, when you think old England's gone? Ba-da-bum-bum-bum. Coronation.
Wow, that actually looks really funny. Of course, I can see it not doing well in the States because it's about Britain's home guard, of course. But that's really funny. I think maybe it would just play to probably people like me who think that kind of stuff is interesting and who enjoy humor. The British humor. It's just so much. It's so much more thought out, I think, than and it's so much more deep and also cutting than American humor. United States humor, whatever you want to call it.
Coronation Street. There are many soap operas in the UK. EastEnders, Emmerdale, Casualty, and so on. But the longest running of them all is Coronation Street. Set in a gritty northern town, Corrie has been on the telly since 1960, and it follows the trials and tribulations of hardworking folk who are just trying to make an honest living and then go down the Rover's Return for a pint. Also, a lot of it takes place in a factory that makes women's undies, but it's not as raunchy as that sounds.
I was gonna say, it didn't.
Richard and Judy.
So that kind of sounds boring to me. I'm not big I'm not big into soap operas, and we have them here in the States, and now they're not really as popular as they used to be. But it's like ongoing sagas. Ugh.
This married couple were the king and queen of daytime TV in the UK for over 20 years. They hosted This Morning from 1988 to 2001, and then an afternoon talk show called Richard and Judy from 2001 to 2009. Think Regis and Kathy Lee meets Oprah. Charlotte Church was discovered by calling into Richard and Judy and singing to them when she was just 11 years old, because they love talented showbiz kids. So I guess Regis and Kathy Lee meets Oprah meets Ellen? Look, there are a limited amount of channels in the UK, so talk shows are in short supply, all right.
How many channels are there? Just curious.
Shows are definitely on the lowbrow end of the spectrum. Typical conversation might go something like, "Have you heard of birds?" "Birds? What are birds? I've never heard of such a thing." The Great British Bake Off. Oh, this show is so embarrassingly British it makes me squirm.
I was just going to say, it pretty much looks like it just vomits, Great Britain.
The baking competition. It takes place in a tent behind a mansion house.
Of course.
And it is by far the most talked about show on TV.
That's like Antiques Roadshow. We have it on, it's called Pluto here. It's a streaming TV. And I like watching that stuff, but they had Antiques Roadshow UK. And it's in a tent behind a giant mansion or castle.
When it's on. Think of a small town cake baking competition, or what would happen if Zooey Deschanel hosted MasterChef. Also, one of the judges is called Mary Berry. No, really, and she's terrifying. Snooker. This highly competitive form of pool is regularly aired on British TV. It goes on for hours and it's really, really boring. Also, the players wear these funny suits with these velvet waistcoats. I don't know. Despite this, it remains bafflingly popular and is regularly shown on primetime TV. My overwhelming memory of the Snooker as a child was that it would replace The Simpsons on BBC Two, because whoever is making the scheduling decisions hated fun. The commentary is also fantastically monotonous. Oh, Robinson's Place, the White Bull. Oh yes, that's a nice break. That's exactly what it needed to do. Just for hours.
I know exactly what she's talking about. We have one of those here in the States. It's interesting that you call it pool. We call it pool too. I thought you would have called it billiards or something like that. But yeah, it is boring. You hear just some guy going, okay, he's got it all lined up. And I mean, you just hear, you hear this. Like, oh, that's a great break. It's a great break. And then you hear people like, they're going, shh, shh, shh. It's weird. And nobody really watches it here in the States. It's odd.
Top of the Pops.
Top of the Pops.
This was Britain's answer.
I have heard of this, and it's referred to, because I'm a music junkie, I've heard of this all the time. I hear about, where certain singles go, because I love the Professor of Rock. If you guys ever watch him, he breaks down a lot of songs and things like that.
To American Bandstand, all the chart-topping hits lip-synced to perfection by your favorite stars. It first aired in 1963, much to the excitement of the youths of the day. It ended in 2006, but Top of the Pops 2, which shows episodes from yesteryear, is still hugely popular. My personal favorite thing about this show is watching the teenage audience try to look cool and dance like regular human beings while staring at their favorite pop singers.
Oh, they still do that? Oh.
University Challenge.
Okay, there. Oh, this is. Okay, all right. That reminds me of the Young Ones University Challenge. So, and that must have been where they got it from. But yeah, so I didn't. There were a bunch of different ones that we had in the States, and they're just not popular anymore because people don't always. They don't dance. Americans don't seem to want to dance so much. Not since the 70s or 80s, I guess, but. Yeah, we would, that would be like Soul Train for us. You'd see people like dancing to music and stuff like that, but they did in the 60s too, those TV shows. But all right, University Challenge, we have one here, and I don't know if it's still going on. It's called Scholastic Scrimmage, if I'm saying that right. My school was on there once. And that was
Challenge.
Cool.
This is the best show on television, a fiendishly difficult general knowledge competition where teams of students representing their university compete to win a very shiny trophy and the respect of their peers. The structure is very simple. There's a starter question worth 10 points that they answer individually, and if they get that question right, there's a further 3 questions worth 5 points each that they answer as a team. Okay. So if you've ever heard anybody say your starter for 10, or you've seen the movie of that same name starring James McAvoy, well, that's a reference to this show. It's hosted by fearsome journalist Jeremy Paxman, who's just like that really strict teacher that you were always disappointing in school. Come on, Warwick, that was obviously Much Ado About Nothing, honestly.
All right, yeah, so it does, I think I referenced it correctly from the Young Ones. My brother used to be so into British comedy when I was younger, so I got these great shows. We would get them all on the VHS tapes you put in the VCR, and yeah, he had them like all recorded. One of our friends got like BBC, whatever the number was that it was on, and he recorded them all from TV, and we would watch them, and they were freaking hilarious. And we always thought the University Challenge episode of The Young Ones was the best, where instead of writing, Rick, someone put a P in front of his name, and it became Prick. It was very funny.
Time Team. This is the second best show on television. A Sunday evening staple, Time Team follows a team of archaeologists over 3 days as they excavate a historical site.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
It's kind of like those home makeover shows, but in reverse.
Yeah.
I have a degree in archaeology, mostly because of this show. It's hosted by Tony Robinson, who played Baldric in Blackadder, because obviously if you're an actor in a historical sitcom, you know a lot about it in real life, right? I don't know, there's some kind of logic there. He isn't doing it as the Baldric character, though. He's
Right.
not just standing over a trench going, "There's a wall, but not a roof, so how can you prove there's a house?" Springwood.
That sounds really cool. I would love to. Do you guys watch that? I mean, because I think we're on the history scale here. We're on the history page-ish. History, culture, history, that kind of stuff. So I love archaeology. I think that's neat.
Yes, we Brits are obsessed with the weather, so much so that we dedicate hours of programming to it each year. Springwatch follows a group of very hearty, outdoorsy type presenters as they wait patiently for daffodils to bloom or lambs to be birthed. It's by far the most dad-friendly show on TV. It's mostly people standing in a field and saying things like, "Well, we've been waiting here for 8 hours and the sheep don't look any closer to birthing yet. Now let's go over to the camera in the Badger set." There's also an autumn watch and a winter watch, although no summer watch because we don't have summers in Britain. Do you have a favorite British program that never made it stateside?
Yeah, The Young Ones. All right, guys. What did they leave out here that maybe didn't make it over to the States? I mean, certainly the Blackadder didn't. Philomena Kunk pretty much just started coming over here, even though she's been out for over 5 years, close to 10 at this point. But that is like as a result of the advent of streaming. So that's where we're starting to get some of this stuff. So we do get some BBC that gets streamed, but it's older stuff. So the Americans are starting to come around to it. Yeah. All right. Let me know what you think of this. I know you guys like her. I do too. I think she's rather interesting. I can't remember her name, but definitely hit the like button, share, subscribe. Don't forget, we do have memberships where we have reactions to Philomena Kunk videos, some Blackadder, and anything that kind of didn't really make it. That was like, I started reacting to something and I basically I have like a meltdown halfway through and I'm like, this is not what I thought it was, and I just basically lose it. So I put those up on memberships also. All right, guys, take care, have a great one, and I'll see you next time.